executive session for water.
I got it. Good evening. Today is May 6, 2026. We're in the Eldon F. Board of Selectmen meeting room on the second floor. The time is 6:30 p.m. Before we stand for the pledge, please be aware this meeting is being recorded for use on the internet and our local cable station. Please join me on the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here we go. First on the agenda tonight is vote to ratify Caroline Nelson's employment as Outreach Assistant, MOW Coordinator, Tax Work-Off Coordinator.
This is Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
My name is Caroline. I graduated from West Bridgewater in 2020, and I'm really excited to come back and work for Council on Aging.
Fantastic.
Awesome. You guys have any questions?
No, I've known Caroline for a while. I am good.
Marcy?
No, I've heard all good things, so welcome.
Well, I'll say if going to the Council of Aging, everybody loves going there. You're going to enjoy yourself working there. I'm positive of that. And we look forward to having you. So at this time, I want to take a motion, or we'll make a motion to ratify Caroline Nelson's employment as Outreach Assistant, MOW Coordinator, and Tax Work-Off Coordinator.
And it will be effective May 13th.
Effective May 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here we go. We'll get this done. Caroline, congratulations. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Welcome.
Wish you the best.
All right.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is to vote to ratify Luke Azak's employment as employment contract as Station Manager at WB Cam. Ben, having you here.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yes, I'm well. This is Luke Azak. He will be our new WBCAM station manager. Myself, Linda, and the cable board had interviewed many candidates, all very well qualified candidates. We narrowed it down to 2, and then they met with the cable board, and the board decided that Luke was the best fit. He comes from Stone Access. I won't tell too much about him. I'll let him explain, introduce himself. Now, the floor is yours.
So, hi, I'm Luke. So, as mentioned, I've been doing video work for, I think, about 13 years. The last about 5 of it has been in local access. As well as I'm a musician, and not really sure what else to say. If there's any questions, I'd love to.
Right on.
No, I think, the very first committee, my very first involvement in West Bridgewater was that the cable TV committee. Near and dear, and I've said it a million times, we're sad to lose Ben, but he's brought the station up a lot, and I think you'll be in a good spot to go, and I hope you can grow from that, and I hope my personal goals in the future is to get some more meetings covered and some more things like that, but I'm thrilled with what we see, and I'm always surprised at the number of people that actually watch this meeting and other meetings. So it is truly a great resource to the town, and excited to have you there. So.
Yeah. If Ben thinks you're good, and Linda thinks you're good, and everybody thinks you're good, then I think you're good. It's always nice to get good staff from another town. We'll take you. Thank you very much. So I'm just happy to have you. Thank you.
Before I do this, Ben, thank you so much for being a part of it. I do know that you had already kind of left us, but I thank you. It shows your professionalism and your dedication to the town, so thank you so much for continuing to assist us in this. Luke, I kind of said it when you walked in, how you got some shoes to fill. Ben was around here for a while. I could see your face. You look motivated and excited, so I can't wait to see what you can do. So at this time, I'll make a motion to accept Luke Azak's employment and employment contract as station manager at WB Cam for starting the date of.
And do you want it for town meeting on the 11th? Yes, okay, so May 11th.
For starting May 11th.
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Good job.
Habits.
They die hard.
We just realigned the board, so Some
It'll take
of
a
us
while
are-
for me to stop
Yeah.
reflexing some comments out.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, you're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you
Luke.
all at town meeting.
Yeah, we will
All right,
see
super.
you
Thank you.
Thank you
many
very much.
times.
Next on the agenda, we'll just wait a second. Next on the agenda is to vote to approve common vicular license for Tosca's Pizzas located at 499 West Center Street. For this particular vote, I am going to recuse myself, and I'll turn it over to Marcy.
All right, well, again, vote to approve the common vic for Tosca's Pizza located 499 West Center Street. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, happy to have you. Welcome to town.
Happy to be here.
Jeff, do you have anything?
No,
No?
I'm all for this, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Our pizza places have dwindled and it's a shame, and yours is closest to my house, so let's go.
Yeah, we had, Bloom's was great, and then we had Gigi's, and
Yep.
that was great as well. So we're looking forward to you being great also, but more long-term.
Cross our fingers.
So we're down a couple of pizza places right now in town,
Yes.
so.
I'm always looking for new pizza, just an FYI. So I will, make a motion to vote to approve the common vic license for Tosca's Pizza located at 499 West Center Street.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Welcome.
we're in. Welcome.
Thank you,
When do
guys.
you
You're all
start, if you don't mind? Do you have a date?
So I think Wednesday will be my soft opening.
Barring any
And then
inspections.
hopefully the following Friday I'll be
We're
open
good.
Oh,
to
good.
the public. So
Super,
I'm
I-
very excited.
very soon, great.
Yeah, very
See you soon.
excited. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, we will see you.
So my family's very happy about this. So we used to own the Italian kitchen. So my ex-husband owned the Italian kitchen with his dad, Gus. And then after his death, 6 years ago now, they sold it to the Cape Cod.
Yep.
So my family is very excited about this.
That is wonderful. I hope you got some of those
Very-
recipes.
Yeah. Yes, I stole the recipes.
Good.
Sounds
Sounds good. That
Thank
sounds
you.
Thank
exciting.
you so much. Best of luck, and like I
Yeah.
said,
Thank you.
I'm
You
sure
guys are
I'll
all
see you
set.
soon.
All right, perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Oh, you don't want us to stay?
You
No,
can
you can
stay.
hang out.
You
It
can
gets
stay,
very
but, I
exciting
mean,
in
there's
this
two
room.
pages, there's 2 pages of this.
No, we're good. Sorry. Thank you.
All good.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night, ladies. Drive safe.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is vote to approve the one-day entertainment license for Jump Aboard Foundation, May 30th, 2026.
Yep, so it's a fundraising event, it'll happen at the school on May 30th. The one-day entertainment license is triggered because they will be looking for a band and some other activities that are there. And because they are a not-for-profit, I would ask you to waive the fee as well.
Absolutely. Any
Yeah.
questions?
No,
No,
I've,
This looks like a great event.
yeah,
It
I've
is.
spoken to a few people involved with the event and the foundation, and they seem very excited, and it looks like a great event. I hope that I'll be able to make it. I don't know that I will, but, it definitely looks good. It's like a
And I'll
great
be-
cause.
Yeah, and it's in memory of Jake Wessel.
At this time, we'll make a motion to approve the
Jake's-
one-day,
I'm sorry, Jake's Wessel.
one-day entertainment license for Jump Aboard Foundation on May 30th, 2026, as well as waiving the fees for the event.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right on. Next on the agenda is vote to approve a one-day entertainment license for Barrett Ale House located at 604 West Center Street for August 10th, 2026.
Similar event as the last year, no changes, basically about 1 year apart. So the entertainment licenses, because it would be a one-day special event for midget wrestling. Again, this would be their second one.
So I'm gonna remain as a no to this, but I don't feel like I need to regurgitate everything that was said last year.
I'm going to remain as a yes, because it was a fantastically fun event.
As will I. Make a motion to approve the one-day entertainment license for Barrett Ale House located at 604 West Center Street for August 10th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Oh, yeah.
There's always gotta be one non-fun
Found it.
person. Next on the agenda is the Memorial Day 2026 commemoratives, excuse me, allergies are getting to me. Commemorative services. I got a drink. Commemorative services for May 25th, 2026. We're looking here to vote on board roles. First off, is everyone gonna be here?
I don't know that I will be here, to be honest. I can't be positive yet, but I'll be coming home, I'm driving home from Florida that day, or on that weekend, so.
Jealous?
I'm gonna do my best. I think I'll be here.
Okay. I said we probably can't, probably assign roles. I know that I'll be there for the entire event. I've been asked to, Jason Ross is not available, so I will be doing basically the entire MC for that day. So whatever can't be done, I guess I'm doing it. If you're there, we'll split it up
Yeah,
that
you and I
day.
can carve it up.
And
And
then-
if I'm there, I'll grab a duty.
Absolutely. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. That works for
Yeah.
me. So we are not gonna vote.
Yeah.
We're not gonna vote on roles, but we will, assign them on the day.
Okay,
All right. Update site plan review for special permit ZBA 194 South Main Street warehouse facility.
yeah, so I put this on because in full disclosure, I made an error last time, so I thought it was only fair to the board and to the public for me to place this back on the agenda. So again, if you could pull up 194.
And this time, Christine, we
Main
won't
Street.
tell you you've pulled up the wrong site and make you go down the road.
So,
That was our fault.
to reiterate, I thought at the last meeting, it was the building immediately adjacent to Yangtze. So Christine did pull up the right one. We sent her to the wrong one. It is still on a commercial area. There are still used car lots there. There are other businesses, but in this particular case, there is also a handful of residential neighbors as well. A little bit different than just a little bit east of that. So in any event, so I wanted to put it back on because I want to be fair to the board. We can capture the same comments as we did last time, or we can change the comments. Again, I just thought it was fair to the board to make sure that, I apologize for the error of leading you in the wrong direction for the wrong building.
You know, David, I realized one thing. If we ever wanna know if anyone's watching this, we put something up that's wrong and wait for messages, cause they come in quick, pretty much that weekend. They start, so. I got a billion texts about this and emails.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that changes for me is where it is more residential. My concerns would just be around, hours of operation, truck idling, trucks pulling in overnight, all that kind of stuff to not disturb the residents that live next to it, so,
Yeah, lighting,
yeah, downlighting,
Yep.
true downlighting.
yep, absolutely.
So for me, it's just, the resident shouldn't be, they'll obviously be impacted a little bit during the day, but you're on a mixed-use road. Whereas nighttime, we don't need trucks pulling in at midnight, idling, sitting, anything like that.
I hear you, but at the same time, everything around there is pretty much working those similar hours.
But I don't think auto sales
No.
has trucks pulling up overnight for delivery, things like that.
Auto
so-
sales will, yeah, if a truck is delivering, they'll come in at night.
So, well, those would be my requests. I will let the board go from there.
I'd make the same comments, yeah, just to be aware of the residential neighbors and considerate of them with the hours of operation, sound, and lighting.
Good with all those.
All right, okay. And then
Thank you.
We'll capture that again, thank you.
Thank you.
Building permit, next on the agenda is the building permit appeal, ZBA 3 Crescent Street, single-family dwelling.
So this one's a little bit more complicated. What I would ask is if you could go to the page where it has the map on it. Inside the packet. Right there. Okay, good. So we put this in green so you could see it. This here is with 3 distinct parcels created or identified in a plot in 1958. They are 8, 9, and 10. 8 is on the lower portion, 9 is in the middle, 10 is up top. They are in common ownership and have been in common ownership since 1958. Recently, without any notice, the governor signed the Housing Reform Act. We never received any notification from MMA. It kind of caught us off guard. It appears that some of this, or most of this, was worked into existing legislation kind of at the last minute, so nobody really had an idea as to what it was or what was forthcoming. In the fall, a local developer either purchased or was in the process of purchasing this property. And what they want to do is that they want to implement the spirit of the new Housing Reform Act that allow them to be able to build 2 additional houses. So right now on Lot 9, there is an existing house. That would not be conforming to our zoning because it does not equal 30,000 square feet. And therefore, it was only allowed to be in existence because it also, under the merger doctrine, meaning that if you had adjacent property in common ownership, you could count that towards your square footage, so therefore you would be compliant with zoning. The Reform Act said that you could go back to pre-zoning, and as long as you had separate deeded lots that were in common ownership, that you built a house no more than 1,850 square feet, no less than 3 bedrooms, on a 10,000 square foot lot, that lot now became a buildable lot. So the developer in the fall attempted to place 2 houses. We went through the process. I've included it in the packet. Legal counsel reviewed it. They determined that you could build on 1 other lot, because even though the 3rd lot met the new spirit of the housing reform law, meaning it had more than 10,000 square feet and they were gonna build a house that met all the specs, the current house sitting on number 9 would then become a non-conforming lot because it would no longer comply with current zoning. And while the spirit of the Housing Reform Act probably meant to allow those other 2 lots to be built, it never specified in legislation, which has been it's either been long-term case law or long-term statutory law, that you cannot purposely create a non-conforming existing lot. So by allowing 8 and 10 to become buildable, number 9 would then become a non-conforming residential lot, which would not be lawful. That attorney, along with that developer, reviewed it and either, came to the same conclusion, or they chose it wasn't desirable to fight it because they walked away. Subsequent to that, another developer, the current one before us, has come in, and as you all know, on House Lot 10 is building a home. That permit has been granted. There is no issues with that. They are more than welcome to build one. They cannot build based on town council's advice. They cannot build on Lot 8. To belt and suspender it, we saw legal advice a second time. I think it is noteworthy that the attorney that reviewed it on behalf of this current developer continued to argue the spirit of the Housing Reform Act, which I understand, but never actually addressed directly the concerns of local council, which is Lot 9 becomes a non-conforming lot. Their opinion never addresses it. So either 1, that attorney didn't understand the argument, 2, missed the argument, or 3, didn't want to argue against it because didn't know how to. And I'm not being negative when I say that. It was just it wasn't addressed. There had to be a reason why it wasn't addressed. So with that being said, the building commissioner denied the building permit for number 8. The legal process is that the person has the ability to be able to appeal, and they've done that to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That will be on June 9th. If the Zoning Board of Appeals upholds the opinion of town council, then the developer will have an option at that point to either accept the decision of the town or file litigation. And, then obviously I would have to keep the board up to speed at that point. This is not something normally I would bring to the board because it's not something that's normally under your purview. But in case this does become future litigation, the board oversees that. I thought it was wise and important to bring it to your attention in advance.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next on the agenda is the proposed subdivision for Horsepower Road.
So here's another tricky one that I'm bringing to you as well.
This is a bag of tricks today.
This one is. These are a couple of tricky ones. So if we could go to the assessor's map on this one, please. Okay. So, before I refer to the map, I want everybody to think about where we are. If you were to leave the Spring Street School, and you drove on Spring Street, and you headed crossing North Elm, we all know, or at least I thought we knew, that as you go up Spring, you eventually run into Forest. The road ends. I remember the first time I came to town thinking it was kind of strange, it just ended in the woods. Turns out, it doesn't end in the woods. It turns out that there is actually a road in the woods that has just never been developed. So I've asked, Christine, we've loaded this here, this is our current local assessing map. You can see Spring Street on the bottom, runs underneath the swamp area, travels northward, then heads westward, then heads northward again, and where it ends in that bend, which is just south of where the Pearl Road development is that's Walnut Street right there, and that's where it bends. Right off of Walnut, you'll see an itty bitty little white area, and that is currently where Spring Street is developed or paved. And then from there, it literally begins to disappear. You'll see that there's a small little road that goes into Pearl Road from the rear access point, and that is Spring Street Extension. If you can highlight that spot that you're on right now, Christine, or maybe if just, I just want the name to pop up. Yep, so just go back one, please, right there, and then just put the cursor right there, and I just want, so you can see that says Manley Street, Spring Street. Then you go down to number 10, you'll see that that's in common ownership. And then if you go down to the furthest one on the right, the small one, that's in common ownership as well. So the idea that what this developer is looking to do is to develop a portion of Spring Street at his expense to allow himself to build a legal road onto his property, because he owns those 3 properties, and he has a right to build a road, and that's what he would do, is he would call it Horsepower Road. You see it as called proposed subdivision, and the reason being is because the planning board takes the position that you cannot build a road unless you go through the Subdivision Control Act. So that is the legal mechanism that they are going through in the planning board to build this road. Right now, we do not definitively know what the developer will build. They have a legal right, assuming they go through the process, there's conservation, there's other issues that they have to deal with, but assuming that they go through the regulatory process, that they would have a right to be able to build a road there. And then from there, once the road is legal, they would then have the ability to determine what they're gonna do with it. Because clearly, they're not just building a road to go into the woods, because that's all undeveloped parcels of land. The issue here is that where Spring Street is, that becomes a demarcation point between residential to the north and industrial to the south. So it is understood from staff meetings that they have been had with the developer, is that they would be looking to put some type of contractor bays off of Horsepower Road. I do not know how many, we don't know any of that additional information. They have not done that further engineering, because until they build the road, it wouldn't be worth their time, energy, and money to be able to go that far. So again, I'm bringing it to your attention, because the planning board will be reviewing this in order to go through the process of building a road, and we'll see what happens in the future.
I have
So
so
again,
many-
just bringing it to your attention.
So many questions. Cause I mean, that's state forest there,
Well, the green is state forest.
right? And then some of those parcels look like, are they, I mean, we don't know if this is the scale or not, but it looks like those 3 parcels on the bottom would be part of the state forest, or?
I think that there's some state forest that impacts those areas, yes.
Which I would also assume it's probably wetlands.
There's no doubt that there's ample amount of wetlands, and therefore conservation will have to be involved. So again, it may not come to fruition, it might come to fruition. Instead of waiting until a later date, again, there's a little bit different than we normally experience. I thought it was wise to bring it to the board in advance, so at least you knew what was going on.
Thank you. Do you have more questions?
No,
Oh,
no
I have a lot of
contract.
questions, but there's no answers yet.
I like contractor yards, we just don't have enough of them.
We
That
know
was
how you feel
sarcasm.
about those, yeah.
Request to modify existing, next on the agenda is request to modify existing site plan review, special permit, planning board, 0 Matfield Street, contractor storage yard, remanded from Superior Court.
Yeah. So this is the Oak Hill Way. Can you try, keep on going to the right, see if it, we put it after Maple Street, see, or did, yep. No, try, no, all the, right there. All right, that's it. I'm sorry, okay, good. Okay, so, in 2023, a developer, EOMS, you'll see, if you can hyphen where that easement is shown, right there. That property there, is a property that is owned, and you'll see above that, there is a road that ends in Oak Hill Way. There is currently a recycling center that is there. It is in Brockton, and the same entity that owns that facility owns that parcel of land right there. Immediately to the left of it is water land, the water department's land, and also where some of their wells are, where at least they draw water from. I don't know if there's a well, is there a well or just
There's no
draw,
well.
okay. So in 2023, this developer started to develop that property, had not received any permits, had not gone through the regulatory process. The town was made aware of it. We issued a cease and desist. And at that point, that developer began the formal process through the Zoning Board of Appeals to get a special permit for use for contractor's yard, and then would have to go through the planning board for site plan review in reference in order to do that. So, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved it, but at that time, there was concerns from the Board of Selectmen, which I've included in the packet that you could see that we provided. And there was also a lot of concerns from the water department because it was immediately adjacent to their land. And it is my understanding, and there's members of the water department here if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding is that developer at that point not only did work on his property, but it also impacted parts of the water department property, clear cut some of it, and made some other impacts to it as well. So obviously the town had concerns. The water department sent those concerns over. Either all of them, none of them, or a portion of them were not handled through the Zoning Board of Appeals. And as a result, during the 21-day appeal period, the water department had standing to be able to file an appeal, and they did so. The Board of Selectmen are the only ones that can hire legal counsel. You authorized outside special counsel on behalf of the water department. In the next 18 months or so, there was ongoing litigation that occurred between the water department in concert with the developer in reference to the approval from the ZBA. The water department basically there was concessions made, and the water department elented to those concessions, and therefore it went back to the Zoning Board of Appeals in the fall after the Superior Court remanded the decision back to the ZBA, and a special permit has been issued for use. It is now going in front of the planning board because a contractor's yard in the Water Resource District area requires a special permit, and they also have to do site plan review. It is noteworthy that there is nothing their parcel does not abut any land or have frontage in the town of West Bridgewater. That's an issue that the planning board in West Bridgewater will have to look at. The only access point is through the private developer's recycling unit through the city of Brockton. It is now before the planning board, and so again, this is now for your ability to provide comments during as you normally do for any site plan review. So whatever your comments are, we will then pass them as we normally do.
My comments are what, I think I caught the tail end of this when I first sat here. We don't need this sitting above or over our water resource. It can just be a no for me. No entrance through town, no clear sights to what's going on a regular basis. There were issues with what was going on that property beforehand. I don't deem it trustworthy, and I don't feel like we should be messing with anything that sits over the town's water source.
I second every word of that.
100%. What doesn't make it makes it more difficult because we don't have clear access to it from from West Bridgewater. To get there, we'd have to go through Brockton to get in there, and how often are we going to do that? One, and then two, everything Jeff just said. It's like I feel like there's, and if we look at all the towns around us, there's already so much more issues with water and the lack thereof water. Yeah, I don't think it's a great idea, and I don't know what you guys think, but water's here.
Well, we went back and forth a lot with, in terms of what we had to go through with them on the plans. We got them to change the plans to a point to limit some of those concerns based on what we went back and forth with from what they originally proposed to what it is now. We don't have the authority to say no to something like that, but we were able to get some protections for what goes out there. But I think our original thing is basically prefer, we wonder why we didn't buy that, so we bought all the rest of the property in the first place.
So they limited your concerns, but they didn't alleviate them.
No, that, again, because you can't get there to check it, and you can get there through the woods, maybe depending on how high the water is. You can't see it from anywhere, you know, the Oak Hill Way, but you're a couple thousand feet when you're leaving the city street to get there, so there's no real ability to check on anything over there. You know, so part of the site plan stuff was to make it so that they'd really have to do something to get off the property again to do, but it's still, those are still legitimate concerns.
I mean, I would have to hear we have zero risk to even consider, and I think that's almost impossible.
So we'll capture those, sorry, my allergies are bad.
You and me both.
And again, I think to Art's concern, Oak Hill Way is a public way, but it ends at a private establishment. So in order for us to access it, not only do we have to go into another city, which we do, there are other parts of West Bridgewater that you have to do that. That's not, but you have to actually access it through private property. And I think that's a problem.
All right. So the next one is this supposed to be Maple Street?
This is supposed to be
Okay.
Maple Street.
Request to modify existing site plan review for special permit for planning board for 15 Maple Street, contractor storage yard.
So this is a little bit less of a twist, so we're getting better. We will go to, why don't we go, do we have the assessor's site on this one? Yep. So, you will see you'll see this Pleasant Street on this, there we are, you're traveling down Pleasant Street. You then take a right-hand turn onto Maple, it eventually dead ends into state conservation land. We have highlighted that area where the green dot is, that is 15 Maple Street. This had already been approved in the past, to add a contractor's yard, and storage. There was an appeal from a butter, that was settled in court, and at that time it was approved for a 3,000 square foot facility, and now they are amending it to become a 7,500 square foot facility. So that's the only change. So you had commented on it in the past. I just brought it back to you because again, it had been in litigation, had nothing to do with us. We incurred no expenses as a result of it, but it had been in litigation. So it's come back out. They're looking to modify. That entire area is zone industrial. There is no residential in that immediate area. You know, for contractors' yards is the right, in my opinion, is the right place to be.
I'm good.
Yeah. I got nothing.
I got nothing. Next on the agenda is request to modify existing site plan review. We're gonna go a little over. We're almost done with ours, and then we'll go into our joint. Request to modify existing site plan review, special permit, planning for 175 East Center Street, Vineyard Farm.
Yep, so we all know Vineyard Farm. The Vineyard Farm received a alcohol license from the board. I believe it's 12 days a year that they look to serve alcohol. As part of the restrictions, they had to have a roped-off beer garden. At that time, as they went through the regulatory process, it was deemed that I believe it was the plumbing inspector was here, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. but I believe it was deemed that it required permanent bathrooms as opposed to temporary bathrooms. As a result of that, they have not been serving alcohol, and they are now in the process of amending their site plan, so that way they can build a building in order to be able to comply with that request. So I'm bringing it back before you, so again, so you're aware.
I got a quick.
Yeah, no, I think it might be the same question.
I got a question, because I think at one point, please correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there a plan for them to have, like, weren't they doing something for a liquor license at one point, so they didn't have to continue to do the temporary? Or,
They have a liquor license.
they have one?
Yes, they have
Okay,
a full
so-
liquor license.
Okay,
They
got it.
only use it when they have like special
Events.
events. Like Mother's Day, they have people come, Easter, they have people come.
Right, okay,
So, it's not necessarily specifically 12, but usually there's about like 12 days, 12 weekends a year that they actually end up using it.
okay, got it, but this is why the change, this is why
They need a building, right?
This is why the change, because before it was just a temporary thing. This is just me connecting dots here, I'm just.
They need a bathroom facility. The Board of Health said that they could use a temporary bathroom facility till June this year.
Got it,
So they need to build a full building to have proper bathrooms.
okay, I'm
Right.
connecting dots.
Water toilets aren't allowed under 248 CMR 1010, so that's why they have to put the permanent toilets in there.
Well,
And in
excuse me.
English?
Yeah, that's,
Bless you.
Yeah, something happened back there, I don't know what.
that,
It's a rest thing.
It doesn't comply with the plumbing code. Water toilets aren't allowed under the plumbing code,
Okay,
and that's what they're doing temporarily until, but they need permanent structure.
okay. Is that because they have the liquor license permanently, or if they just did like the 12 days a year alone?
Well, right now, they only have one half bath in the existing structure up front, which is
Okay.
not adequate enough to handle the people that are in the building, so.
Makes sense,
they
yeah.
need to, if anything, upgrade that. And
Okay.
it's just above and beyond what they would need to meet the minimum standards.
Okay. Yep. Appreciate the explanation.
Yeah, you don't need to vote for this, right?
I'm just capturing comments, if you have any positive or negative comments, again, they're just modifying it by adding a building.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I think my only comment to Vineyard Farm, and I've seen it when they have larger events, I think it's gonna be parking. I think parking, it's gonna continue to be an issue until they have an adequate parking lot. I do know that they do their best to mitigate, because I drive by and there's people roping people off, and there's cars driving in the back. But I think as it grows, I think parking's gonna be the issue that I foresee there, and I don't think anyone's gonna deny that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No, and the building commissioner has cited that as well.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 1st, 2026.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of April 22nd, 2026 for review.
Second.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All right. You still with me, Jeff?
I got you.
All right. Do we want to jump into our joint meeting, or do we want to finish this off, David?
Well, my recommendation is we could go through these fast, because when we finish the joint meeting, we're then gonna transition to executive session.
Got it. Communications and reports from boards, commissions, and town officials. Municipal Building Needs Committee and the mission statement, 150.
So I placed this on the agenda because as the transition was occurring from Jeff to Mike as chair, Jeff was having, we were reviewing this as how we wanted to progress with this committee. So Jeff, if,
Yeah, so this, to me, this is an existing committee. Art and I have had a brief conversation.
I owe him a phone call back.
Yeah, but we'll get there. There's been other stuff. We've both been busy. But coming out of the special town meeting for the school and listening to, comments about the school not being maintained, this not being, and I take some of that probably to be true, and I take some of that probably to be false. But what it highlighted is we are probably not, as a town, necessarily maintaining all our properties as they could be and as they should be. This committee existed. We only just found going back 20 years, 30 years, found the actual statement. We thought we had to make one, but the statement itself is dead on for what we want it to be. So this might be something that's cyclical, comes up in years and goes away in years. But to report annually to the Board of Selectmen town meeting as a condition, recommend uses and needs of municipal buildings. I'm not so much worried about the selectmen. My vision to sort of re-energize this, and again, I have to talk to Art, who's the chairman, is to get a group of people, and it probably exceeds, there's 5 people on this board as it's appointed, and maybe we look at that down the future, but, and for me, and obviously we need to discuss, but it's a couple of plumbers, a couple of HVAC, maybe somebody for septic, maybe somebody for electrical, to really go in and evaluate all our buildings, not just the school, but, I know we had an issue with the boiler at the school. Could that have been avoided had we had somebody look at it and make maintenance recommendations? This committee would only make recommendations back to the board that has, jurisdiction, if you will, over that building. But it would also be a public document so that we could then all act on it, discuss it, and bring it up budget time. Things like that along those lines. Same thing, council on aging, same thing for the police, for the fire, for this building. Any building we have that the town owns, it would be good to have a group of experts in their field go through, look at things, understand, ask the questions, how often is this being maintained? I know we had some issues at, over on the public safety building with septic, because some things weren't being pumped that should have been pumped, and it's just, there's different things going on, and I think if we can get the right group of people just to oversee, walk through, make notes, make recommendations, prioritize those recommendations,
Yes.
pass them back to the appropriate committees, then from that, that gives us some insight. And it takes, and I don't wanna say it takes anything away, I mean, the town meeting was the town meeting, but at least we can confer or deny that is actually what's going on and what's happening. And more importantly, we can protect our own interests before we have to just continue to replace equipment because it breaks to the point of no repair. So that's sort of my thought on this, and it sounds like that was a long time ago, but that might have been something that the town was looking at way back when.
In case anyone's confused about what Jeff just said, because he said a lot of words. It sounds like there's already a committee that is doing this.
Yes.
Or that is assigned to this. We just have to basically activate and.
Yeah, re-energize. I think it's been energized with when buildings going on, and like the police and fire, the public safety building.
Well, what happened since I've been on, and I came on when the police and fire, the public safety building was in the planning stages. That was being overseen pretty much by building needs. That's when Vic Flaherty was in charge of it. It was a fairly large committee. They had, I think, we had more than 5 that were showing up at the actual meetings on a regular basis. So some of them might have been, I don't remember what the word is, but for when people aren't there, you've got coverage.
Yeah.
And a few times we were talking about was done, that you go and look at the buildings, come up with a list. The problem is it never went anywhere. And over the years, we've had more and more trouble keeping people on it. It has sort of morphed more into when the building officials decided they needed something, and sometimes it'd be something to break, other times we did with the library.
Yep.
I think we did for a couple of other buildings. They came to us and said, look, we're gonna need this done, it's not in our capital budget. And that was kind of a way to get things done, that you don't wanna wait another year, even if it maybe didn't break, but it's something that came up. And then we'd approve it, it would then go through the Board of Selectmen. One of the selectmen turned it down on one of the things, they decided they didn't want it, the money spent that way. But it did get more and more away from
Inspection.
going out, and especially as the committee gets small, it's tough, because now, we have an electrician, we have a builder, but we don't necessarily have all the trades represented, and it makes it tough to go in, like, I can't go in and tell you if that boiler's
Right.
taken care of.
Yeah, I mean,
That type of thing.
I've been talking a little about this. I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. But I've got some people that I think are interested that we could add in an informal basis, right, and then maybe formalize it down the road, because it's kind of what it's in. It's written in stone at this moment until town meeting would have to change it.
Yeah.
But I think we can get those people. I have also gotten. I spoke with the school committee chair about this. They are in favor. I know Mr. Bodwell's expressed interest in it, as well as superintendent, so they are in favor. And then, I don't know, it's, you know, I don't wanna waste anybody's time. But I'd like to try to give it a shot, but ultimately, you know,
Well,
we gotta.
if we get more of a push down from the selectmen in terms of when that stuff gets done, to prioritize it and tell them, look, budget for this work to be done. 'Cause I mean, the building needs committee budget isn't gonna pay for a
Yep.
lot of that type of work, but maybe that can be the impetus to say, you have to budget, you know, a
Yep.
certain amount for maintenance. Typically, anything the building needs, though, it ended at the building. It typically didn't go out to, like, say, the septic, to what goes on out there. That was kind of done separate. I think we did a little bit with the last thing that they added, the police and fire, just because the building had to be kept operational, it was necessary.
Yep.
But other than that, it was mostly kept to stuff within the building envelope.
I personally think that this is huge, especially if there's a group of people that can identify preventive maintenance specifically, right? Like certain preventive maintenances aren't happening, because that's the long term's gonna save, that's what's gonna save the town big money, right? Because if we're conducting and doing the preventive maintenance, and I'd almost call this like an inspection team, but not really inspecting anybody, because, like, let's face it, if you're walking by the same boiler every day, you're like, I'm gonna look at this tomorrow, I'm gonna look at this tomorrow, I'm gonna look at this tomorrow. We've all been there. I say it with my home AC filter in my house, or my heating filter, and I'm like, I'll do that tomorrow, and I'll do it tomorrow, and before you know it, a month gone by, and my wife yells at me, and then I change it. So, with that being said, when you have different eyes walking through buildings, to Jeff's point, when you have a different set of eyes walking through building, it just gives you an additional. I walked through a building one day and I saw an inspection sticker on a boiler, and the inspection sticker hadn't been done in 2 years, right? So if you have an extra set of eyes going through or looking at things that somebody else isn't looking, I think it's a huge thing, and at the long term, it's gonna save the town money. Because if you're doing your preventive maintenance checks and services, you're gonna have less likelihood of a catastrophic failure. So I'd love for this to get moving and get going and re-energized, and I'd love to help as ever possible. Yeah,
Since
Art?
there's
I think-
nothing left to say. I won't say anything.
Say it.
No, you said it, you all said it, and it was perfect, and I piggyback it all.
Art, I really appreciate you spearheading this.
My issue has always been getting people to volunteer to be
Yep.
on the committee.
That's
We
all
just
of our
got
issue.
lucky, we got 2 more people that wanted to come on.
Yep.
But we've been kind of looking around for quite a while. It can be a tough thing to do anything with volunteers.
I-
So,
But I think
You know,
this is,
if
I
it's-
think from the volunteer perspective, it's once or twice a year, right? I mean, it might be a
Well,
couple more days than
this
that.
part would be a few days, once a year, probably be the best way to do it, see how it goes to the next year.
Yep.
But if you're gonna continue to, we still have to meet maybe once a month. It used to be twice a month when we used to get a lot of requests for funding. But you still have the monthly meetings so that budget can get taken and spent. So if somebody does need something, that either maybe that inspection notices it, it says it's gotta be done before you can budget it for next year. That would still, we could be able to still go through the municipal building needs, and that's more of a monthly meeting, or as requested is how we're doing it now.
I think it's important to say that, like, even if we're short a trade or two in there, and it just getting the
Something done.
trades that are available to go out and kind of take a peek, I think it's gonna be huge. And everyone's saying taxes and saving money, and I think this is a good, strong effort to try and get in front of that, as we know things aren't getting cheaper. And if we could get in front of some of these things, and save us from catastrophic failures in places, I think it's important too.
Yeah, so as we can see, is in 1985, the committee was established at town meeting. I think it was envisioned at that point that it would serve 2 purposes. One is it would take an inventory of buildings, and 2, create kind of like as a proactive checklist as to what would be needed going forward. The committee has evolved over the years, as Art has said, is it's become more of like an emergency committee. Is that when you have an emergency, they go to referring to building needs, if they go and they vote on it. So I'm not so sure we have to go back to town meeting unless you really want to expand it. Because right now you have 5 members staggered by 3-year terms. That's what you're authorized to do. It doesn't specify, everything else then is defaulted to the selectmen as to how you want to structure it. So we normally vote on appointments for July 1st, and I don't know the current municipal building needs committee where they are in their staggered terms. But what we could do is if in June or July, we relook at it, and then you could say, this is what we really want. So as those positions become vacant, that's who we can attempt to try to add. And then I think create some structures to what the expectation is from the board. I also think being fair to the committee, because there is gonna be some work up front. When I was in Dartmouth, I sat on a committee that was like this. They're gonna need an administrative person, because someone's gonna have to take minutes, somebody else is, they're gonna have to put a report together, and I wouldn't think that it would be fair to our, or one of the other board members to actually do it.
We actually have a secretary.
Right. So, but again, I think if they're capable of putting together the report and all that stuff, good. And then on top of that, when we did it in Dartmouth, we actually created a big template. So you could open and you could say, this building was built in 1958. It has 7 bathrooms, 4 rooms, 2 boilers. And then from there, then it would tell you what was done and when and what it might need in the future. And we are fortunate because the ADA committee a handful of years ago had secured a grant, and they have the bare basic bones of that. Granted, it was geared towards what it would need for ADA, but I think some of it is already in there, like these are the amount of buildings, this is the year built, this is what the structure is. So I think we could use it as a template and then be able to add to it. And that would become, in my opinion, the basis of that report that would go to the board and whomever else in the future.
Yeah, to David's point, the ADA committee, we got the grant a few years ago to, it was like a $50,000 grant. We had OCPC come in and basically evaluate all of the town buildings for their ADA compliance. So we do have, a formal report of all of, again, it's a start, right? It's just concerning ADA concerns, right? So, we do have that available. So it's a start. It's a very small start, but it is a start. And, yeah. So that's good, and we were able to do that, to no cost to the town, so always happy to be advertising, receiving grants.
And I'm assuming, if, say, we don't have a trade represented on the committee, would there be any reason we couldn't hit up one of those people to volunteer to just go and help with that, even if they don't have an official seat on the committee? An HVAC guy.
No,
I don't see why
that's-
not.
That's
Yeah,
it,
So,
I take
so
everybody.
it's not like we're limited just by, we can pick out those other skill sets.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can
and
find
have
them, and
when we
there's
schedule the inspections.
people in town that all have those skill sets, and I'm sure they'd like to help us keep their taxes a little reasonable,
Yep.
maybe,
Sounds good.
so, but we can
Yeah.
talk out, outside of here and figure out who that should be, or if you've got names, I've got a few, whatever.
We're good there?
Feel
so.
that one.
All right, next on the agenda is correspondence from public to determine a course of action. I think we have none. Have people here?
Nope.
No course of action.
Public.
Nailed it. Public comment period.
Moving along.
Moving along. Town administrator report.
All right, so real quickly, as you know, Ben is now officially left. He was here this evening. We are going to provide transitional assistance to Mr. Azak, who was hired earlier today, so it is before you. That has been signed and implemented. You'll see on June 14th will be the annual firefighters memorial at Pine Oaks, and there's a proclamation that I'll ask you to sign before you leave tonight. Open Space and Recreational Committee will have a plant swap on May 16th. It'll be at Pratt's Landing. Next Monday is town meeting. Town meeting starts at 11, but I post you at 5.
6.
I'm so sorry. It's May 11th. It starts at 6. I always post you at 5:30, so that way you'll be in session if you need to do anything. But the pomp and circumstance normally starts at around 5:45, so we do ask our residents to get there early. And then your next scheduled Board of Selectmen business meeting is on June 3rd, 2026.
Got it. At this time, we will start a joint meeting with the water commissioner. So I don't know if you need to open.
Yep.
You want me to go first? or you?
First of all, you want to open your meeting,
Yep.
and then we'll take motions to go into executive session, please.
Okay, we'll open the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen of May 6th at 7:24.
So moved.
There you go.
In favor?
Awesome. All right, we're doing a portion of this in open.
So now in open session, we will have the conversation about next steps, about reorganization.
Got nothing. 160 to 164. Right on. So, mainly with the reorganization, we've been talking about, kind of merging the two departments together. Not necessarily merging, but having the DPW direct, setting the two departments and kind of making one to kind of the workflow and make things a little bit easier for the town, to have, a larger department. Yeah, David, I don't have any minutes or anything on this, as far as the workflow goes.
So I think if I can step in for a
Please,
second,
yeah.
this started in a conversation last August with the two boards together. We are fortunate, there's a couple, I shouldn't say fortunate, but there are a couple of circumstances taking place. One, we happen to have somebody who's currently running the DPW, who comes from previously running a water department in another town, that has all his licenses together. And two, Mr. Parks, who's our current water superintendent, is planning on retiring at the end of the year. So there's an opportunity, I think, to improve sort of the day-to-day management of the water department as we transition by moving the water department under the DPW. That doesn't replace the water commissioners, that doesn't replace the tasks that are in hand. It does take it from elected to appointed over a time period. As it's currently written, all of you would finish out your terms, if you would. And based on the fact that nobody would run the last time, I'm pretty sure we can appoint you for life to continue on that road. But I think, as far as, setting rates, setting directions, setting all that stuff, it's still the water commissioners. I, as a Board of Selectmen, have no desire to oversee or have any responsibility as it relates to water. It's just, I think, the day-to-day operations, and there's some synergies between the two departments. And I would hope that there's maybe a little more planning that can come out with Phil and Phil's background on the water side of things. So there's an article for town meeting. It doesn't, it's written in legalese and blah, blah, blah. Like it honestly doesn't lay out anything clear. Right, exactly. And there's many steps to that process, right? So the first is our May 11th vote for town meeting. At that point, if the intention of the town is clear, then the intention of the town is clear, and we can probably start doing some things. But the formal process won't happen. It has to go to a special act at town, at state level. That takes place in January 2027. For all we know, by this time next year, if it approves at town meeting, this would probably be in effect, right? It's just, there's a prolonged process. We happen to be doing this, catching it by nothing more than luck in the right year, where at least if we approve it now, we can get it, because it's only on odd years at the state level. So it's not a quick process, but once we understand, we're all for it. We'll see. I don't know. I've not watched your meeting or know if you guys have voted or anything. But if we're for it, you're for it, town's for it, and it moves forward, then I think we have the opportunity to combine the two and obviously get some synergies and get some day-to-day management and maybe some planning, but still, keep you guys to do what you do from a water perspective, the plants and all the stuff that's going on now. So I don't know I know there've been questions, and we saw emails back and forth, and I think this is a good idea to have, hammer some of this out before we walk into town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And start asking questions. So, and I don't know that we've thought about it to the nth degree, or
Well, if you want, interject a little with it.
Yeah.
Because we've discussed it, we have been trying to figure out what we're gonna do for how we replace Wayne when he retires, which is, the job description wise, makes it very difficult, because the way that job has worked out to be, as opposed to probably what it should be as a superintendent, and there definitely is possibility of making things work better, but the details of how it actually happens, to me, this is less of an issue. I mean, idealistically, I want everything to be, I'd rather have elected boards. My preference. Doesn't necessarily mean it's better or worse one way or the other. And probably the way we get turnout and stuff, most people don't really care one way or the other in town, would be my guess. I never never have heard a plain English reason, however, why you couldn't change the same thing and just keep the board elected. This does nothing but make it an appointed board, right? So nothing, what else changes by doing, when this passes, the board goes from elected to appointed. And now Phil's, he shouldn't use his name, the director of public works would be theoretically the water superintendent, but would report away from us instead of to us, because you can't have him reporting in multiple distances. He can't have two bosses, really, and he really reports to the Board of Selectmen. So we start getting into that. My thing is the organizational, how that actually works, and why, if you're gonna change the organization, you can't just mutually change the organization without it being changed to appointed. I don't think I've ever seen anything that just says, in plain English, why that can't happen.
I don't know that I have the answer. I'm gonna answer everything but that question, and hopefully David can provide some guidance. As far as the structure goes, it's very similar to how conservation is right now. We have a conservation agent, we have a conservation commission, they're appointed. The agent works and takes guidance and direction from them, but some of the day-to-day stuff still manages to flow through this, this building, if you will, and through the planning department and things along those lines. So it exists, and we've proven it, I think, to be functional at that level. I mean, this is a bigger piece of,
It's different, the organization size and
Yeah.
everything is different.
Yep, I don't disagree. But structure-wise, it exists and it's here now. I can't speak to why the elected or the appointed, but I don't know if David has any
Yep.
insight.
So really, it was in August of last year, we had this conversation. I asked all of you to watch the meeting. I don't know if you had an
I did.
opportunity to, but if you did, I think you made the best case for it to be appointed than anyone at the time. But it could be elected. There's nothing legal that says it has to be appointed versus elected. But as Art said then, and I would argue today, is that one elected board cannot answer to another elected board. And we have all experienced that whenever complaints come in, a lot of times they'll come to our office and we always just say, call the water department, which is fine, we can continue to do that. But if we're going to have a integrated department, we can't have one of our employees that's overseeing it and then have no jurisdiction or ability to be able to effectuate change if somebody comes in with a complaint. Sooner or later, in any good organization, there has to be a top person, top board, top something that can make a final decision. And so, I said this to Art the other day, so I'll say it publicly. I don't think having an integrated TPW department with two elected boards works. I think you either do what we're looking at now, or you do nothing. Just keep it the way it is, which is what I said the other day. Fine, just keep it the way it is. And they would hire a superintendent and we would just move on. But if we're looking to say, let's have an integrated department, Phil has to take some direction from the Board of Selectmen, which flows through me as he does today. And then because of the water department's function of setting policy, setting the water rates, figuring out abatements, do we work on hydrants, do we work on replacing pipe, what do we do? That's a policy decision. He would take, then Phil would answer to the water commissioners in reference to that, which is identical to what Tim does in the regulatory process for the Conservation Commission. Eventually, let's just be honest, eventually, there's gonna be a conflict of something. There always is. That's why management exists. If there was never conflict anywhere, we were never managers, because sooner or later a decision has to be made. And if you have two elected boards that has no authority over the other, that conflict is gonna go unresolved. I don't care if it's in the town of West Bridgewater, if it's in the private sector, or it's at any other level. So that's why at that time we discussed at that meeting, and we asked legal counsel to look at it, is if we were to make it into an appointed board and structure as an integrated department, how do we do with the process? And he came back with the process. In that meeting, it was also suggested let's have legal counsel determine the pros and the cons. And I spoke at that time and said, that's not his role. His role is to give us legal guidance. It is you guys to determine whether it's favorable or not favorable to do. So, again, my recommendation is you either integrate it similar to conservation as we discussed in August, or stay with the status quo. But I do not think that it would be workable to have an integrated department with personnel answering to 2 elected boards. And I did provide a hierarchy chart. Art asked me that on Sunday. I came up with it, the board had never reviewed it. I used the same template as we have in the conservation, so I didn't have to recreate it. I sent it out to all of you, so all of you would have it, but with the caveat saying that while I was creating it, I had no authority into the Board of Selectmen to do it, except for the fact that I was just trying to use it as a template. But I think under this, you know, the DPW director, as you can see, on a day-to-day basis, someone like Tim Hay. My office handles discipline, handles time off, if he calls in sick, if there is a customer complaint, if he needs resources, what does he do with his budget because he's gonna he has budgetary concerns. If he has some legal concerns, I handle that. In reference to regulatory issues, I've been here for 13 years. We've had one resident come here to the Board of Selectmen, kind of trying to appeal a Conservation Commission decision, which you don't have appeal rights. Like, that's not the process, but the selectmen got involved in an attempt to help. But Tim in the conservation worked through all of those regulatory issues, absent my involvement and absent the Board of Selectmen's involvement. So using that as a template, I did this because I think that's the way it would work.
Thank you.
A couple things. I think structurally, when we look at, you know, structurally, we have the right guy in DPW right now. We're lucky and have the right guy sitting in DPW at the moment. Structurally, we're gonna be sharing assets, right? Because right now, I think that's one of the biggest things. I think long-term, when we're looking at this, we are looking to better the town. I don't think that there's any member in this room right now that wants to do anything long-term that's gonna hurt the town. Nobody on this board, I don't think anybody on this future board, just like whether they're elected or appointed on the water commissioner, I don't think that no one that's sitting on either side of those seats or in those seats is ever gonna do anything to intentionally wanna hurt the town. No one could, like, if you're volunteering to be appointed or elected, you're putting your name in the hat, you're not trying to hurt us. You're not gonna try and hurt the town. So I think long-term, I hear you, but I don't think it's gonna make a difference which way it is. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
No, like I said, the idealist in me wants everything elected and, you know, and there's practical points to that too. Not being able to get people to run for the offices gives you a whole different problem. We got lucky this past time because our little pull them in and coerce them.
Overnight
worked out.
deal.
But it's tough to do, you know, it's
Yeah.
tough to do that. And over the course of a year, the selectmen run into people that you can kind of recruit if we need to replace somebody. To me, the moving things around gets to be kind of important because we do have what's kind of an untenable job description at this point for a superintendent. There's a lot of those job descriptions that could go into the DPW director's purview, make the assistant superintendent more of a water treatment, in particular, operator, because then the laborer staff can go back and forth with DPW for doing roads, whether it's roads, catch basins, hydrants, they can cross work and that, you know, get a few more people with distribution licenses, they can do more work on the water mains. With 2 treatment plants coming online by the end of this coming, you know, year, we're gonna need treatment plant operators, which we're gonna be a whole nother issue, is it can't be the laborer operators that we have now. We're gonna have to really set up a chief operator, which could be the assistant water superintendent bit, and then 1 or 2 operators under that person to be able to keep these things running properly, maintain them, make sure everything's covered when it needs to be. And I guess I can say, and I don't think these guys would know, you do, we lost our more senior water treatment operator today, put in his resignation.
Mhm.
So we're now even more under the gun.
They didn't know, by the way.
Well, I
The
couldn't-
faces
They-
are
the
telling you
faces
they
they just
didn't know.
You know what it's like.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't tell them.
Yeah,
Yep.
They tell us now.
I just did.
well, in a meeting.
I wasn't gonna say the name, because if I say the name, then we're not in the open, we're not in executive session, and that would be a personnel thing, so I don't think I can say the name.
I think at the end of the day, like, this is a perfect example of it, right? We're doing things to increase the staff, so if there's a shortage somewhere, we have help somewhere else. And I think this is gonna make the town, I know it's gonna make the town more attractive for like DPW water folks to wanna come and work in this town, when now there is multiple director levels or assistant director level positions that are gonna be available. They could cross-train, they could, I mean, the sky's the limit, in my opinion, on the abilities, on the abilities that they're gonna be able to do within the town. And then, not to mention even the assets, I know I mentioned the assets, so it's gonna make, like, organizationally and structurally, it's gonna be more attractive, in my opinion, for people to wanna come and work in town, and stay longer when there's now multiple positions they could obtain, right? Cause now you're looking at an assistant water superintendent, and I'm assuming that's also gonna include like a lead. It's opening more positions, in my opinion, and not costing us potentially any additional money when it comes to labor.
So Art, I think everything that you said is just further evidence as to why I think the water commissioners need to handle the day-to-day, right? Like, cause as a member of the Board of Selectmen, I don't know any of that, right? So I can't tell you who needs to be hired, I can't tell you who should be hired, what credentials they need to have, that is your wheelhouse, right? So that's what I think, you guys stay in that position, you still have control over those roles and those responsibilities, you still have knowledge that we don't have, you know, as far as being a water commissioner or knowing much about how a water department operates. So I think it's vital that you guys still oversee those things that you oversee now. And to David's point, you know, the Board of Selectmen, it would just be, you know, complaints, vacations, you know, I mean, I don't even know everything, but I don't think it would be the stepping on toes that I think you might be fearing. I don't intend to you know, put my hands in that mess and try to figure it out for you, because that's not my job. Like, that's your job, and that's what you specialize in and you have, you know, knowledge of. So I would just personally say myself that I don't wanna step on your toes as a water commissioner, whether it's, you know, appointed, elected, or whatever. I just wanna be helpful. And to Mark, I think you made this point in one of your meetings that I attended, and it's what Mike is touching on now with assets, shared resources, right? So if DPW is opening a road and water knows they need to replace a pipe on that road, we can do it at the same time, instead of the way that it is now, where DPW opens the road and paves the road and does what they need to do, and then water goes, oh shoot, we should have replaced a pipe down there at that same time, and we didn't. So now we've got to open that road, and we've got to use more resources and more money and more time. So that's what my motivation is for this is to basically share the resources, share the knowledge, put it all under one umbrella so everybody knows what's going on and we're not doing things twice. So I just wanted to try to ease any concerns about, you know, wanting to take over. I don't feel like that's what this is really necessarily.
My concern with that, I don't know if these guys are gonna start talking soon, I suspect. My concern with that isn't
Yeah.
this board. My concern with that would be, you know, a few years in the future, as
Yep.
people change out, you never know.
Yep,
Or-
understood.
We've been told is we've never really had that problem.
Yeah.
Or on the other boards in town with the selectmen doing that, so.
Yeah.
Art, we have to think about this. Is anyone in either one of these positions ever in favor of doing harm to the town? Because the answer is gonna be no. The answer is gonna be no. Yes, sir?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and through the members, I just look at it this way. When you remove an elected board, you're removing it farther away from the electorate. So, I mean, they elect us for a reason. No, they didn't appoint us, they elected us. We have to answer to them when there's a question. And I think this is just setting a bad precedent. If you make this an appointed board, what next? Board of Assessors, Planning Board, School Committee, anything's open, if you're changing the rules. We've been in existence since 1910, 116 years, long time, right? Great Depression, couple, world wars, we made it, we've survived. We've come a long way in 116 years, we had a 2-inch, water line coming in from Brockton. I don't know what happened back then, who the forefathers were, why they looked ahead in the future and thought this would be a great idea to have water. What I'm saying is that whenever you take it away from the voters, that no good will come of that. Look at surrounding towns, what they've done when they went from elected to appointed. The electorate, the electorate loses their voice. Also, I think what we're looking at right now, we're gonna have a director that'll be in charge of both departments. How long is that gonna last before that individual retires? 5 years. And then what happens? We're gonna have a new Board of Selectmen. They might have priorities that are different from what you guys have right now. I don't know. I mean, same with the water, same with the appointed, with the appointed positions. I'm just concerned, whenever you take it away from the electorate, to give it to an appointed authority, I think that's a bad precedent to set. And I don't know what the Concom, I don't know what the zoning board, or whatever appointed position that you have right now. All I know is that the water department's been existing for 116 years. Yeah, it's had good times and bad times. Right now, we've got some challenging times because we've got unfunded mandates coming from DEP, from the state and the federal government to reduce our PFAS, our iron and manganese. Yep, we're satisfying the demands or the requirements of the state and federal government right now. And I think we're doing a good job. And I just think it's a bad move to make this into an appointed position as opposed to elected. And I think if we can work out so we can have one leader in charge of both the water and the DPW, I think that's a great way to put it. But if not, well, I'll leave it at that. So thank you.
John, I appreciate and I love everything you just said. But the reality is this. When we look at how many people are actually stepping up and running for some of these positions, when was the last time we had multiple people running for a water department seat?
Same with the Board of Selectmen, it's the same thing. I get it.
And at the end of the day, whether you're appointed or elected, our ears are to the ground and we're listening to the people at the end of the day. And I hear what you're saying. I love what you're saying. I wish we could continue to say we're going to have a bunch of people that are going to continue to run because they want to make the water department better. But you said it. You said it. We had to pull Mark at the last hour to get him to turn in his papers. Like how long is that going to be sustainable for? Because last I checked, people are running for the school, but everything else, there's not a lot of contested races in town. There really hasn't been. And how long are we going to continue to draw straws? And at the end of the day, you can't have nobody run for the water or nobody involved for the water because it's important. It's a very important resource. And as much as I'd love to say, let's keep this elected, how do you do it when a lot of people don't want to get involved and help out?
So I just want to answer the one part of the DPW, that one person. Number one, when we do this, I think, there's putting the leadership in that what'll be DPW/water person. There's an increase in funds that should be available, so we should be able to hire somebody at a higher skill level to manage both, and we happen to have somebody there right now that I think fits that requirement, both from an engineering standpoint, from a licensing standpoint. I don't think it's unique. I think there are a lot of towns that DPW and water are now combined and move in that direction as the licenses become hard to get people to get and get people to pass. As far as elected versus appointed, I don't know how. I hear what you're saying. I just structurally, I don't know how you do it. On the back, on the back end, I don't know how you have a DPW director that reports to 2 elected boards. I don't know that that's fair to that person at the end of the day. This isn't a power grab. I want nothing to do with water. No disrespect, but if this was political, I would run away from it. But I believe it's the right direction for the town. I think we get some superior leadership over there. We get some engineering, some planning. Somebody that's done it in a bigger environment and can bring those skills here. And I think we should take advantage of that. and then we can hire to that in the future. To me, that, there'd be a salary increase for that role in that position, which probably allows us to bring in better people.
I'm not sure who mentioned it, but I know that in some email going back and forth somewhere, somebody highlighted the fact that combining these positions actually makes the position in the future more appealing for applicants. I'm not exactly sure who made that point, I don't recall. But having it be a more appealing position, even in 5 years or whenever you were just anticipating maybe the current person that we had in mind wouldn't be here anymore, I was under the understanding that just reinforces that it's gonna be a more appealing position going forward.
That was probably one of my emails, and I stand by that. One of the issues I saw with the type of people we were getting when we interviewed the current director's position, we are so small.
Yeah.
That is barely a DPW in terms of when you look at the people that were applying for. People that were much lower levels had more people and more budget under them
Yep.
than we had here, and the pay scale wasn't, that's kind of why that pay scale was able to get a jump. You got a lot of people who were higher up that were more like, they were looking for it as a stepping stone to get a title and then move on, that we probably wouldn't have kept. We got lucky with the one that we ended up finding and getting. Making it a bigger job probably would get a better chance of getting better candidates the next time. It's gonna have to have commensurate pay, and that's gonna be an issue we can talk about with what we're gonna need to do with treatment plant operators too, because that's
Yeah, more skill.
the
more
different,
money.
this industry is getting kind of forced into a different thing than it used to be. But, as I said, I mean, the issue with elected appointed, my heart says elected, my brain says whatever. If we had to change it to do this, then we change it to do it. Like I said, I just, but that other part of you with John is you've got elected, people don't like what we're doing, I'm up next, run against me. Might even step down.
I know.
But that's, there is that thing. I know they actually just did this in Walpole either last night or the night before, changed that water board from elected to appointed. And that was the big stink about it, was the people who were against it, they didn't want to lose that ability to affect that board separately from the town administration. I think the people who changed it won by a very small amount of votes. They have representative town meeting on open, but it was very close, and it was very contentious because a lot of people felt basically the same thing that John just expressed. So,
At-
we'll see what the town wants.
At the end of the day, I think it's just bringing more people to the table. And I hear you, John, it's a valid concern, but like, you're bringing more people to the table that, in all honesty, and I'll continue to say it, nobody in this room wants to hurt the town. Nobody in this room wants to hurt the town at the end of the day.
But I think we are by taking it away from the voters indirectly. Right now, it seems clear, okay, so give it some time. And I think that's what you gotta look at the big picture. I mean, we've lasted for 116 years for a reason. We're doing something right. We've come a long way.
I hear you, but Art he just said it.
I get it.
Things have changed.
But
Things-
thankfully, at town meeting, the voters will be voting on it, right? So I mean, they'll vote whether they want you to be appointed or elected. If it goes through, then you are, not you, but like the board of, the water commissioners would be appointed. If it doesn't go through, you remain elected. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we are giving the vote to the people.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would hope if it does say that it doesn't pass, that we try to figure out a way, whether it's just administratively, policy or something we put in, that we could still move something into this direction. Which, I think David said, it doesn't legally have to be an appointed board, so if we could come up with, again, some kind of a policy of exactly what that reporting would be, then maybe, which in either way it goes, I would like to see us moving into something like this.
My concern is, we have this chart up here. I'm concerned about the water. I'm concerned about the treatment plants we have. I don't really care about elected or anything. We have all these people that drink this water. We gotta make sure it's right. And I see, you know, if we elect somebody for this new job or whatever, we groom someone behind them, okay? And if he chooses to leave, just like anybody else, you can hire a guy tomorrow, thinks it's great, gets his feet wet, 6 months later, he's out. He goes somewhere else for $3, all the time. So, no one stays forever. But you got a couple water treatment plants you gotta fix, you gotta pay attention to. You got roads, we understand they're falling apart. And water pipes from, what, John? 116 years old. We gotta address these. It's gonna be a disaster if something breaks.
When?
Yeah, when, exactly.
I mean, it's gonna happen,
Yeah.
It already happens.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think there'll be, you know, strict, I mean, we're gonna be coming and, you know, saying, hey, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. I just hope you guys are on board. You know, you want a building committee and, you know, fix the lights and fix this, but you got water you gotta attend to, and you gotta make sure it's right.
No, absolutely. And to the point, I know to your point, people leave and people move and people come.
Yeah,
Right now, we're in a spot where somebody is leaving, and we have somebody that's very strong that can run it.
right.
So, again, I'll certainly think about it, there's a structure piece there, and that's where I'm stuck. I get what you're saying about the elected.
I just don't want, I guess I just don't want us to give up on the idea if it fails at town meeting. I think we should still try to come up with a way to make that work. Because it was a good idea that you don't wanna,
Waste.
more than one way to skin a cat.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, let's just say this goes through, the board becomes appointed over elected. What is the stuff, if I understood, I might have misunderstood, you're talking about the selectman / David would be responsible for day-to-day stuff? Like approving vacation time, this and that. But David, you guys would have nothing to do with that. Stuff like that should still stay with the board.
The water
Because
commissioner
they know-
board?
Excuse me?
The water commission?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
With these guys, it should have nothing to do with, because you guys wouldn't have any knowledge of how many guys you got that day, who's on vacation, different things like that. So that would all, day-to-day stuff, should really still stick with them.
But I think it's still gonna filter through DPW director, right? So like, if a laborer needs a day off, he goes to the DPW director, and then does it then just go through Linda, and I don't know exactly how it
Well, that's what
works,
I'm
to
trying
be
to
honest with you.
understand.
Yeah, no, the org chart kind of basically says it, right? So the laborer reports to the assistant DPW director, who reports to the DPW, you know what I mean?
With that
So,
glare, I can't read it.
oh, I'm sorry.
I have no
I
idea.
apologize.
The water
I'm
commissioners
sorry.
are up their stuff.
Yeah, the water commissioners are, it goes David, or town administrator rather, water commissioners, and then the board of selectmen. But before that is DPW director, so in the way that they request vacation and time off now, I think that they would continue to do that. I think, doesn't Wayne maybe oversee that?
That doesn't actually go to, the water commissioners don't approve vacation time. I see when
That was my
payroll
next
things
question.
come out,
Yeah.
who took sick time and stuff, but all that goes up through Wayne.
Right, so, but my point is, it stays,
In-house.
right, it stays in here.
Yeah.
But to add another level of, well, now they wanna approve it, or, it just.
No, we don't,
I
we
may
don't-
have
Selectmen shouldn't
misspoken.
have any
we don't approve
involvement.
anybody's vacation
Yeah,
time,
I may have
period. Like,
misspoken
that's
about
not-
that, yeah.
That's not the intention,
If-
it's,
let me give a real world example. The Board of Assessors, which Paula sits on, they hire an assessor. When she goes on vacation, she submits it to me. I approve it, and I always copy Paula, so Paula's fully aware. When one of the girls in the office wants to go on vacation, they get approved from Daniela, who's the assessor, and maybe Paula, I'm not sure, I'm not involved. There is no impact from my vantage point on town operations when one of the clerical staff goes on vacation. But there could be an impact on operations when a manager goes on vacation. So that's why I only sign off on manager. So using the same template as we see in the assessors, and we do with conservation and others, is that when the DPW director, for example, goes on vacation, I would sign off on that. It can't just be the water commissioners, because that person has a dual role. Like, for the same reason that the water commissioners need to know, we would need to know. I show up to work and I know DPW director for a week. That wouldn't make any sense. So, on a day-to-day operations, I would sign off on DPW director, and again, like I do with Paula now, I would just send a copy over to the water department so that they're aware. When the assistant DPW right now, Mike Hutchinson, goes on vacation, I don't see it. That's a Phil decision. Phil makes that decision. I have no interest in it. I don't have any bearing on it. I have no idea. I only handle at the management level, so I would use the same template as we do with an elected board of assessors, as we do with an appointed conservation commission, and in theory, what we would do here.
Right, you're clarifying that it's just management. When Marcy spoke, I was just curious, but if we're gonna use assessors, I'm still elected, my board's still elected.
Yep, and so that's why I used it as an example, is the fact that because we have management staff that still answers to an elected board, they have still deferred to me to be able to handle day-to-day managerial roles, but I have had no impact whatsoever on the role of the assessors or the role of the assessors play in one being an elected board, and two, in being a regulatory board in reference to assessing. And whenever I do make a decision that pertains to Daniela, the board is immediately copied so that they're aware.
So if we're gonna use assessors as the example, why couldn't you figure a way to do this with water? I mean, I get it, Phil's doing two roles.
That's the difference.
And I get that, so it makes it a little more tricky. But Phil would be here, he would have a highway person here below him and a water person here below him.
But why would you take the job if you were, I don't wanna say Phil, but why would the DPW, how would we hire somebody knowing that they now report to two bodies at that level? You know what I mean, the level of complication, it just, I don't know.
How about the hiring process? Is three. It's 3 to 3 who wants to hire someone. How do you fix that?
Okay, so let's use that as an example. These guys decide that they wanna hire Joe Smith as the new guy.
Joe's pretty good.
And, yeah, he's all right, you know, he can do the job. But, you know, Mike's like, you know what, I don't like him. I like Mark better. Selectmen go, yeah, well, we're gonna go with Mark. We know you want Joe, so you're out of luck. This is who we're gonna hire.
But don't that happen all the time?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't that go in front of them all the time?
Every time.
Historically, the selectmen go with whoever the board picks.
Historically,
But we don't have
those
to.
are the
Right,
bosses.
you don't have to.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But with an appointed board, with an elected board, you know.
But even
the
if
same
you,
thing.
a policeman, right? Those guys hire them, right?
Right, but historically, they've always gone with, because you guys are your own separate little universe.
But there's nothing to say that we wouldn't always go with what they wanted going forward again. Because again, we don't know any better than they do. We would take their advice and their expertise, and that's why they're there, right? So like, we wouldn't just go, we don't care, we're gonna do whatever we want. That's just, I mean, granted, there may be somebody someday sitting in this seat that would say something that ridiculous, but I would hope that they would not be voted in again, or there would be an issue. I don't see that necessarily being an issue.
And again, if I may, today, we had real-world experiences. We hired a new cable station manager. It is, again, not elected, but it is an appointed board. We went through the formal hiring process. That appointed board made a recommendation. Without a lot of fanfare or debate, you appointed that person this evening. The Council on Aging is also an appointed board by the Board of Selectmen. We went through a formal hiring process. That board, in conjunction, just like with cable, that goes through the formal hiring process, came up with a candidate. That person was here this evening. Without much debate, that person was ratified. The only person here that I'm really mostly concerned about is the DPW director. The DPW director, it would be very difficult. I answer to you. If I would not apply to a job in a different town if I had 2 elected boards. Just not gonna do it. All 6 of you might like me today. 2 years from now, some of those board members change over, and it's different. So I would not do that. I don't think most people would. There's very few structures. All right, let's go outside of West Bridgewater. There's very few structures in the private sector or the public sector where you have co-leaders at the top. If it was very effective, more places would do it. It's very rare. And so that's why I said what I said earlier. I think we either adopt this model or we stay with the status quo. But I think trying to integrate both and having 2 elected boards would be a potential recipe for disaster. And again, it's just a recommendation. I'm not saying this in a bad way. It's from a recommendation from the town administrator. It doesn't matter. I just stay with the status quo, go with the appointed. But I think having 2 elected boards, it is literally a recipe for disaster. I'm sorry for repeating myself, but that's how I feel.
Thank you.
Which is up to the townspeople.
Exactly.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yep, so, town meeting will speak.
Yes.
I
Big
just
voters.
150?
I just want that, to run right,
Sure.
you know, we just want it to turn out right.
To your point, I think water is the most important resource.
100%,
Water is the most, it is by far the most, you can't live without it.
100%.
Can't do anything without it.
I think you got the right guy, you know,
Funny.
I
You
mean,
can't. But again, I don't think anyone is gonna do anything malicious to hurt, whether it's appointed, elected. I don't think that there's anyone in this room or anyone in any future rooms that's gonna be either on the Board of Selectmen or on an appointed water commissioner or an elected water commissioner. I don't think that there's anyone that is going to, that lives in town, that is on those boards, that's gonna intentionally hurt the town. And I'm gonna stand, I've said it 15 times, I'll say it 27,000 more times. I think it's important to move on at this point. Are we good with this conversation?
Yep.
All right. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Exception 2, in unison with the Water Commissioners,
Sit down. Executive session.
in unison with the Water Commissioner, conduct strategy session for preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically the DPW superintendent. I entertain a motion to enter an executive session.
Second?
Perez, yes.
Lee, yes?
Ryan, yes.
Don't forget that.
I would entertain a motion to enter an executive session in unison with the Board of Selectmen, not to return to open session for purpose of conducting a strategy session for negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically DPW superintendent. Roll call vote.
so moved. Yes.
Do I need to read this? Because I read it off. I'll say that now, not to reopen into open session. And we already did the roll call vote. Do you need it again?
Nope.